Hey, things are not what you think.
Yeah, there's always something you don't know.
Welcome to Joey's Real Talk.
老外大声说。
Let's welcome our guests, Philip, Nancy, and Leslie. What's up, guys?
Hello.
Hi.
It's good to have you here. And who hails for Canada?
Me.
I.
We.
No.
And I do.
Us three.
And who hails from the United States of America?
USA.
The loud one. That would be the loud one.
Leslie is here, and we specifically ordered him to be loud and obnoxious today to battle the three Canadians. So we're going to, of course, talk about some of the stereotypes and what if people have ever confused Canadians for Americans. But first and foremost, I believe today during the show I said something along the lines of how Canadian music was put on the map as of late by Justin Bieber, and I certainly received some backlash from, I'm guessing, a Canadian. What do you guys think about Justin Bieber?
Well, as I recall, you also said like in recent years, like you put a cap on that. It wasn't like, you know, the history of music of all around the world.
Fair enough, yes, but we're not here to be politically correct. Yeah, you're not here to defend me.
I'm Canadian.
We're nice, remember?
What's that?
We're nice, remember?
Exactly. Okay, so you're agreeing with me, basically. Is that how nice you are?
Sorry.
Are you nice enough to willing to agree?
Wait, you guys haven't been nice to me this entire time. You guys shattered that stereotype right off the bat.
Okay, so if you are listening to the show, if you have time to go onto Facebook, this show is being streamed live. Actually, every Real Talk show is being streamed live on ICRT's Facebook. And you can share with us whether if you know about any Canadian stereotypes over the years, share that with us and we will try to debunk, hopefully, these mysteries for you. Do you guys have any stereotypes that you've heard over the years? We'll start with the American, of course. Leslie, what's a Canadian stereotype that you know of?
There's just so many. I don't know where to start.
First off, how do you think a Canadian talks?
Do you want me to do
I want you to do it. I want you to do the
geez.
impression. He did it for me before. I think it's pretty funny. Don't get offended by this. It's just, you know, obviously for fun.
I'm gonna get so much hate mail. Anyway,
Roast him.
this is my impression of a Canadian. Which, yes, I mean Phil. This is how Phil sounds to me every day. How you doing, you hosers? Hey, we go watch a Moosehead and go watch the Canucks game down in Vancouver, eh?
Oh, it's like a mix of like Southern drawl with like a little bit of Indian. And
It is
Yeah, it's-
a mixed bag of things.
But you know
this
what?
is Phil
Canada
sounds
is
like.
multicultural. So there you go. He's just grabbing them all and shoving them together.
A little trivia for you guys. Do you know what percentage of Canadians are immigrants, as in they're born in another country? First generation immigrants, too. 20% of Canadians are born in another country in their lifetime. So yeah, Canada is one of the biggest melting pots around the world. Possibly even more so.
In school, we learned that we were a salad, a mixed salad.
I learned mosaic because all the different cultures
Well,
together
I learned
makes up a
salad.
picture.
Okay.
Well, if I'm a salad, I do not want to be kale because I don't like
You
kale.
guys are just taking the American education system, all right, and just applying it to Canada. I learned the soup, all right, the melting pot. I heard the
soup.
salad, but the mosaic is new, actually. I'll give you that one.
Because
Never heard of a
mosaic means you get to retain what you bring.
Yes, whereas in America, you're supposed to give up your culture and
And
become
then just-
American.
Whoa,
so that's
whoa,
why it's
whoa,
called the
whoa,
US.
hold
Look it
on.
up. Google it.
Easy,
Google it.
easy. I
Google
thought
it.
you guys were supposed to be polite and say sorry all the time.
There is a bell here, by the way, for anyone
Only
who.
to
I'm
Canadians.
just stating the facts. The
Break up
facts are not rude.
conversation. Okay, so Leslie's impression of Canadians, of course, says a lot about how people think Canadian talk, right? Some of the stereotypes include, like, how about we say a boot?
Which I've never heard a
Never.
single person ever say in my entire life.
I have a friend who's from
Right.
Saskatchewan, and she can do a very good, like, typical stereotype of Canadian, and she does, of course, throw in a boot. In
How
there.
is that any different from what I do, then?
Well,
Because she was also acting.
She
was acting.
No one
Yeah,
actually
she was
does it.
acting it. What else? What else? Like, what are some of the words that Canadians use that
Hoser?
Americans?
I've never heard.
I've heard hoser.
I've
all right?
never heard that
I don't know.
actually.
You
either.
guys call each other hosers, right?
Kind of guard.
Have you ever been to Canada?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Because I'm really doubting that right now.
Okay, well, it depends on which part of Canada you went to as well, I suppose.
I mean,
He
Canada's
doesn't
really
even
big.
remember.
It's
I've been to like Nova Scotia.
Yeah, but
Oh,
come
that's
on, that's
unexpected.
no, but that's perfect. That's exactly
why
where
you got all this weird stuff.
I'm sorry, I'm supposed to split hairs here.
I don't care. I'm gonna start calling you guys hosers today.
There we go. See.
What else? What else? What are some Canadian vernaculars that you know?
Oh, I know one. I think it's in Winnipeg. They call the sweaters that with the little pocket in the front. They call that a bunny hug,
I love that.
and it's only in that one city. They'll call it a bunny hug.
a bunny hug.
That's kind of adorable. I'll
It is
say that.
pretty
It's
cute,
kind
right?
of adorable.
Clothing items, one of the things. For example, Canadians say toque,
Yep.
Yeah.
whereas Americans say beanie or knitted hats. Do you know what toques
Look
are,
at their
Leslie?
faces.
Well, he does now. You said beanie.
Yeah, you said beanie, but I've never heard of that before.
I never
It's a
knew.
toque,
Are you?
Isn't a beanie like a little toy stuffed with like little pebbly thingies, and it's like
like a beanbag.
yeah,
That's what I thought the first time I heard
beanie
beanie.
babies.
It's
Yeah.
like there's. It's like you
Canada,
guys
we
are
say
speaking a
beanies.
different language.
Those are worth a lot of money now.
Yeah, as long as you have the tag.
Well, they're worth a lot of
Anyways.
money if we're talking about people who work in Silicon Valley and, you know,
You,
play with their beanies. Like, say, this is the one that was played by Mark Zuckerberg, then maybe. Okay, so that's one thing. And because I was a child when I was in Taiwan, and in Taiwan, you never have to wear toques. Almost never.
I see people wearing toques. I've done it. I really wanted to wear one, so I forced it on my head. It was hot.
It is too hot in Taiwan for toques. Okay, so that's one thing. What other words do Canadians use differently from Americans?
Jing Zuling on Facebook Live, she says A.
Yeah. So you
I
see.
guess that's a classic one.
A is a big one, but I have to remind
say
the
it
Americans, before 1970s, you guys used to say hey at the end of a sentence, and that was pretty much the same thing.
Oh, really? I didn't know.
Yeah,
that.
like if you watch those movies or radios or listen to radio shows from, well, I guess we don't, but you know, from the 70s or beyond,
Right.
They used to say finish the sentence with hey, like hey, that's a pretty nice jacket, hey, and then that would pretty much mean the same thing. Like it's a quite.
Is this just some kind of like big conspiracy and there's like 3 people in here and you guys are making stuff up and you're in on it and then you're just like,
No, okay.
let's see what we can convince Leslie of. Let's see what we can convince him. You guys have met before this. I'm convinced, and you're just throwing things at me.
We should throw something outrageous at him. He's
let's
right
think.
about
We
that.
should.
Okay, what about the Canadian loonie? As it's going to be a part of our conversation. American dollar is dollar, and it's so popular to a point that you know the other parts of the world they start to call their currency dollars sometimes, right? Like sometimes we forget to say NTD, we say you know so and so dollars.
Yay.
The American currency is called
The greenback.
greenback. Is pretty much. Is that a Canadian thing? Greenback can't be a Canadian.
No.
No, that's the American.
The American dollar is
yeah,
called
the
greenbacks.
greenback. Yeah, like the greenback boogie, which is.
I'm just trying to keep up with you. What's a loony?
a loon.
We're getting there.
Dollar.
A loon is kind of I guess, a water bird, basically.
And we have a coin, a $1 coin. On the back of it is the loon.
Yeah.
So we just
has
call it a
picture
loony.
of the loon, so we call it a loony affectionately.
And then in the 90s, we got our $2 bill turned into a $2 coin, and now it is called the. Can you guess?
The toonie?
Yep.
Oh my god.
Very good.
Oh my god. I'm out. I'm getting out of here.
I love how we all, like,
get a
all the
clap for
Canadians
that.
made the same face.
We're like,
they
wait.
the little duck face.
Okay. What else can you guys think of that we do differently compared to the Americans?
Spelling.
Yes.
Spelling is a big one.
Americans
yeah.
are lazy.
Wait, what do you mean?
I mean, we go by the, of course, empirical, like. You
Like
know,
we spell a lot of
spelling.
things with E as opposed to A, or we spell some things with RE at the end
Instead of ER, and we
That's-
have U's.
That's British English, isn't it?
It
Yeah,
is, yeah. We got our
basically.
spelling from
You see,
England.
we beat the Brits in the in the Revolutionary War, so we are away from them.
Is there any way we could just
We beat
weel
them.
him out of the studio? That has
No,
the chair has
that's his,
wheels.
that's his job, Nancy. He's here to
I'm
be
here
like
to just-
over the
He's here
top.
to aggravate you.
That's right.
He's here to test that fundamental Canadianness of you, which is how nice can you be?
Oh,
yeah.
definitely being tested.
Okay, the symbol, the national symbol for animals, like the national animal for
What
Canadians
is
is.
Oh, okay. Well, for Canadians, it's a beaver.
It's a
Yeah.
beaver, yes, and the Americans is.
The majestic bald eagle.
Bald.
And there's more of them in Canada than America, by the way.
Boom.
True.
Just so you know.
True. I mean, because there's more
I'm
trees
serious.
in Canada.
You know
and bald
why?
eagles need that.
Because I bet they eat beavers. And
Actually, we have a delicacy in Canada called beaver tailed, which
Yeah, it's
is
delicious.
It's
Not
delicious.
made of
You're not
beaver.
supposed to tell them that yet.
Yeah.
You're supposed to wait.
You guys eat your national animal?
Yeah,
That's
we-
terrifying.
You guys eat our Canada goose.
Yeah, but like it's not your national
Yeah,
animal.
but we don't even eat that. That's weird.
Dude, wait. You're in Taiwan saying eating goose is weird?
No,
That's true.
eating Canada goose is weird. We eat regular goose, but not Canada goose.
In Taiwan, we eat like
Yeah.
goose feet, I bet. No, beaver tail is actually a sweet. I can't remember what it is.
It's a
tasty.
batter.
fried
It's like yeah, fried dough. It's just a big thing of fried. It's like a big flat donut with sugar and
I think in America
Stuff
we
on
call that a bear claw.
yeah. I think it's pretty similar. Yeah,
Right,
yeah. I think it's the same
flat,
thing.
And sometimes we put banana slices, sometimes
Whatever you
other
want, yeah.
fruit on it.
Li Yuefeng on Facebook Live, she says, my sister lived in Canada. She says, very, very cold there. Oh, so true.
Oh yeah.
Not all of it though.
Dang.
Do you guys know how cold Canada can get? Like historically, the coldest day in Canada.
I do because I read that page.
Oh,
that
yeah.
you sent, so I'm not gonna say.
Way to set that up.
Okay, so Montreal is one of the most snowed-in cities around the world, and the coldest Canadian winter was back in 1957 in Yukon. In case you don't know who that is,
Very
That's-
far from
That's a
Montreal.
territory in northwest.
It's right beside Alaska.
Exactly, and it got to minus 63 degrees one year, or that year in
Jeez
1957.
Louise.
I imagine Alaska was
Wait,
probably the
Celsius
same
or
temperature.
Fahrenheit? This is
Celsius.
this is-
What is
Celsius.
Fahrenheit? What is
Celsius.
that number? Who knows what the heck?
We don't
that number
use
means?
Fahrenheit.
Negative 63 is as cold as Mars, they say.
That's how cold it is.
So when we go to Mars, we should send a whole bunch of
Canadians.
northern Canadians there because we'll adapt pretty easily.
a bunch of northern hosers.
I remember when I
Okay.
lived in Calgary, that was like the first time we had, like, it was like minus 30 degrees one winter, and that was the first time I ever felt like when you breathe in through your nose, everything inside freezes.
Freezes,
And then you
yeah.
breathe out and it melts. And it
Yes.
keeps happening when you're standing outside.
And you know how when you go out, have a few drinks with your pals, and you want to just take a leak? You can't do that
No, I
outside.
don't know what that's
when
like,
it's
Joey.
the wintertime. Anyway, Leslie brought up a very valid point: is the metric system compared to the whatever system? What's
They
the
use the imperial system.
Imperial system, yeah, exactly.
Thank you.
So we're going to talk about that after a short break. About how many of these can you actually convert?
Oh,
From
geez.
the top,
Oh,
off the
I
top of
don't
your
know.
head.
DJ Sophie is on Facebook
Oh,
Live.
hello, Sophie,
Hi,
who's from
Sophie.
Montreal, by the way.
She says, ugh, it's like a flat churro, Joey. Come on.
there we
I hope
go.
I
That-
read that with the right level of disdain.
A flat
That would be
churro.
the beaver tail.
Yeah.
I guess, but I don't ever think of churros because it's long and it's a stick. It's not like.
Well, that's why she said it's flat.
Yeah, all right.
Flat churro.
All right.
Just play the song.
You're right, Sophie. I'm
play
sorry.
the
Let's
song.
take a short break. We'll be right back.
Friends, if I may have...
For artist interviews, please make sure you click to the next video, but also make sure you subscribe to us by pressing the bell button down here, because we like to tell you more about fun stuff coming up.